What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. So the teams have now been announced for the first round of the July International. So I'm going to go through all of the games, or as many games as I can do in my limited amount of time that I have. We're going to be starting off with the South Africa versus Wales game, mainly because they're just the first graphics that I've seen being announced. South Africa actually came out yesterday. Wales have come out quite early on today, so I thought that'd be fun to check out. So what we do in these preview videos is we'll have a run through the team, check out the actual teams that have been announced, go through some players that we think were good picks, some bad picks, maybe some changes we would have made, and then finally give a score prediction. So let's start off with the home team of South Africa. Starting off in this front row. This is a front row that you will have seen an awful lot probably in the South Africa team. There's not going to be a great deal of changes from the South Africa team we've seen in so many games, at least in the last 18 months or so. Oxenche, Mbonambi and Malherbe is, they're the three lads that you probably expect to be in this team. Maybe you could switch the tight head a little bit there. There's a couple of switches, but Oxenche certainly getting in there most weeks. This is a front row that they do like to integrate quite a lot into the South Africa team, so I think that's a good move. In the lock department, we've got Eben Etzebeth and Lou Diego. Now, Lou Diego, I think, was a bit of a late call coming into this team, but nice to see him back in there, a bit more of a utility forward. So I did see a bit of a breakdown they were doing in a commentary team where they were talking about the idea is going to be switching depending on the game. I don't think that's a bad move at all. In the back row, Siya Kolisi, Franco Mostert and Jasper Weiss getting in there. Kolisi taking over as captain, which a lot of people probably be expecting. He's playing really well at the minute. He's played well, especially when we watched the Lions series on the go, so captaincy makes sense there. Franco Mostert and Jasper Weiss. Some people might want some switches up here. I did see that Peter Steph du Toit is going to be missing this first test, but might be coming back for the second or third test, so he could be going in there. I've seen a lot of people calling for Evan Roos. I'm sure a lot of people want to try and get in there. I am trying to work on some of my pronunciations if I still get wrong. But Jasper Weiss coming in there, I'd probably say a perfectly fine fit, but I think they've got a couple of people missing. Personally, would have liked to have seen Roos get in there a little bit, just to have made a bit of an impact. But overall, 1-8, this is a pretty solid set of forwards from South Africa. I think they're feeling pretty confident with that. In terms of the backs is where there's a couple of switch-ups for South Africa. Starting off in the halfback partnership, Faf de Klerk, who I was picking in my team when I was going through the South Africa team that we did. Yep, I think Faf de Klerk's the right choice there. In the fly half shirt, Elton Janties taking over there, which is quite surprising. I have seen talks about maybe Andre Pollard took a bit of a knock in his finals game, so he's probably going to miss the first one, but might be coming back for some of the later ones. So hopefully going there. I do think that's a bit of a blow for South Africa. I do think Wales will probably be a little bit happy to not be seeing Andre Pollard. We all remember that World Cup where Pollard and Mornay Steyn were just keeping them in that game by kicking to post. Elton Janties, to me, as a non-South African trying to learn a bit more about South Africa, I don't think he's got quite as good kicking percentage as someone like Andre Pollard. So in terms of like their penalty kick for three technique that we see a lot from South Africa, that could be a little bit in jeopardy there. So bit of an interesting call, but I think mainly in terms of the South Africa team, he's pretty much the second string, so he's sort of expected to be in there if Andre Pollard isn't. In terms of the centres then, is there any different centres you've ever heard of in this South African team? Of course, inside centre Damian Dialende and outside centre Lukhanyo Am. These are the lads we've seen at least for, 2 years now? I don't even think they make any changes, just no one else gets a look in this centre partnership here. They work really well together, a lot of experience playing well together. Two very different styles of playing centre, which is really nice. I like to see when centres have a very different setup, but they're slightly different in this. Lukhanyo Am does the outside centre thing, gets around, do some clever little kicks and stuff. Damian Dialende is not quite the same as a couple of other inside centres. A lot of people use inside centres as smash ball people. And while Damian Dialende absolutely contains that ability, he's very good at hitting a gap in between two players, meaning you've got a crash ball player who actually picks his lines really well. I do like him as a player. I think that's a good call there. And then finally in the back three, Mapimpi, Cheslin Colby and Damien Valemsa. This was the sort of three I was thinking they were going to be going for. That was pretty much the expected three. Mapimpi playing well. Nice to see Cheslin Colby getting back in this side. We haven't really heard his name for a good while now, because we've had so many other people, and Kosi's been coming in a lot recently in that right wing. So I think this is a good setup. A couple of people might have wanted Willie Leroux in the fullback, maybe. But personally, I would prefer to see Damien Valemsa there. In terms of the replacements, we've got Malcolm Marx, Kitchoff, Koch, Morat, Lou, Quagga Smith coming in there in the 21 shirt, Herschel Yantes, and finally Willie LaRue to on in that 23 shirt. So they've gone for the 6-2 split, loading up the forwards. We've seen this technique work. I think this technique specifically works against Wales, sadly, a lot. Wales, for whatever reason, love to try and compete against physical teams with their own physicality, and they get tired. I can see that being a great move. We expect this from South Africa recently, so I don't think this is a bad shout at all. I think you'll probably be seeing this Wales team begin to get tired towards that 65, 70-minute marker. You'll be bringing these lads on, especially with some talented players coming in. People like Quagga Smith, who would be annoyed to not be in like a starting team. He's going to come on from the bench. I think there's good impact from the bench there. Willie LaRue, good coverage, I think, is mainly for a player of his standing. I think there's probably potentially better players in the team, but I think coverage is a good move, and then a lot of other forwards coming in there. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid South Africa team. It's pretty much what I expected to see. A couple of switches there. Maybe I might not have had Jasper Weiss in that 8 shirt. Maybe I would have looked for someone else other than Willie LaRue, but I think the replacement there is probably a good move. On to the Wales team then, who've put out quite an interesting graphic. I'm going to have to work out how I'm going to put it all over here. Normally when I do these videos, I of course play a game of rugby in the background. it's a bit too hectic in the minute, so I thought these would be easier videos. So Wales going to have a really tough game on their hands, and this team has been announced, which there's a couple of surprises in here, so we'll go through and talk about some of the areas I've got a bit of an issue with. So in this front row, we have Thomas, Ryan Elias, and Dylan Lewis. Now, again, a couple of big names missing here that I wasn't really going to be expecting. Ryan Elias just keeps getting in this starting team. Personally, I really prefer Dewi Lake, especially a team like South Africa, who love their lineouts, love their forwards. They're going to put on the bomb squad later on. The lineout situation is going to be absolutely crucial to not giving away penalties, not just getting run over in the driving mauls. And Ryan Elias, for me, in terms of that lineout, I just haven't seen it. And for the last 2 years, I just haven't seen it, whether it's at Wales or at the Scarlets. I think the lineout's in desperate trouble, so they're going to need to do a lot better than what they have been, especially in that Six Nations. Need to be improving. Probably would have had Dewi Lake in there. Maybe would have even had Wyn Jones coming in on the loose head. Not sure, could have been a couple of switch-ups there. In terms of the locks, Will Rowlands and Adam Beard. Yeah, this is sort of what we were expecting. I think it was either going to be this setup or you'd have Alan Wynne at 5 and one of the others at 4. I'm quite glad to not see Alan Wynne in that starting 15. It's the first game. Let them get settled in. You need people like Will Rowlands and Adam Beard. They're both on that sort of, I think they're still sub 40 caps, both of them. So I think that's a good move. Get them on, get playing an international tier 1 team. Adam Beard went off with the Lions. He's played South Africa before. Know what to expect. And in all honesty, Adam Beard had a good tour with the Lions. If you actually have a bit of a look at the breakdown situation that was going on in the lineouts, Adam Beard was pretty crucial in a couple of those Lions games, so I think that's a good move. Will Rowlands, it's just discipline. It's just discipline. I say it every week in these videos. I just want to see that discipline improve from Will Rowlands. Don't give them penalties. They get a bit lucky here that Andre Pollard's not starting for South Africa, but you certainly don't want to be giving away the penalties. Will Rowlands, unfortunately, has a bit of a tendency to just give away penalties that just don't need to come. In terms of the back row then, Dan Lydiot, Tommy Raffel and Faletau coming in here. Now there's some big calls here, which I think has a bit of nuance behind it, which I quite like. Dan Lydiot back in the side, nice to see. Big breakdown carry, big ball carry, but generally quite a large guy. One thing we know South Africa has is weight in the forwards. They're a lot of heavy lads, so I think having bigger players is probably a good move. I'm not surprised. That's why we probably see Tommy Raffel coming in here over someone like Josh Navidi, who of course is very good at that breakdown situation, but not necessarily the biggest guy. Although a big ball carry, I think weight in the scrum is going to be very important, so I imagine that's why he gets there. But what a way to make your debut, South Africa at home. That's a big game. Welcome to the game, son. International rugby. Faletau there at number 8 again, went off with the Lions. Played okay with the Lions. I didn't really see any hugely explosive games from him, but again, experience playing basically the same South African team, really. So I don't think that's a terrible move there. On to the backs in the halfback partnership. Kieran Hardy pairing with Dan Biggar. This was a bit of a surprise. Really thought we would actually be seeing Gareth Davis in here. Haven't thought about injuries, but again, Gareth Davis off with the Lions. Bit more experience with South Africa. Kieran Hardy, I don't think you'll be seeing Kieran Hardy do a lot of those little sniping runs that we get used to see from him. South African defence is pretty locked down. South Africa aren't going to be just handing you the ball in terms of that breakdown situation. Not really sure how much we're going to get to see from Kieran Hardy. Personally, I would have maybe liked to have seen Kieran Hardy come on in the second half when there's a few more gaps, a few more tired forwards to run through. Dan Biggar as captain and fly half, I think is probably a good move. He'll probably still be tending to some wounds after that Italy game, after his 100th cap game. So, we want to get back on the horse here, take on a big team. I think that's a good call there. In terms of the centres, we've got Nick Tompkins in the inside centre and George North outside centre. Yeah, maybe this will work. Personally, I much prefer Tompkins in outside centre. I know he plays both for different reasons. I think he works so much better as a 13. I think he's so good on his feet. He's so good at running around. I would maybe like to see these lads switch round. George North has the weight, has the speed, has the height on him as well, just to smash through lines. Use him as a crash ball 12, and if he's lucky to hit a gap, you use him a bit like Dialende in terms of getting in between two players and let him run. Let Nick Tompkins be that distributor on the outside to further players. George North, not necessarily top handling. He's used to playing on the wing. It's mainly of his career has been on the wing. You don't need to pass a great deal on the wing. So having him in that outside centre to potentially be one of the link chain passes to give it out to the wing. We've seen Wales' handling in the past not necessarily being the best. So personally, I might have liked to seen them two switch around. And then in terms of the back three, we've got Josh Adams, Rhys Zammit, Liam Williams. Yeah, this is the three we expect. Again, I think these are good calls. I think did Josh Adams and Rhys Zammit both go off with the Lions as well? And Liam Williams. In fact, I think this back three entirely went off to the Lions tour as well. So I think this is a good move. I think this is a good setup. These are the positions I like to see them in. We just got to hope for a bit of a better performance than we got to see against Italy. And then finally in the replacements, we've got Dewi Lake, Rhys Carey and Tom Francis in that front row. Again, I think I would have had Dewi Lake in the start there. Alwyn Jones and Vidi are going to be the replacement forwards there. So the 5-3 split for Wales. Keep an eye on that, and we'll get to see when this game comes around how much of an impact a 6-2 versus 5-3 split will begin to interact in terms of those forwards. Especially people like Alwyn Jones coming on in that second half. Is he going to make a huge impact? Navidi, I can see actually having a bit of an impact on the game, so that'll be nice. I imagine we'll come on for Rafael at some point in terms of that flanker position. And then finally the rest of the replacements. Thomas Williams, Gareth Anscombe and Owen Watkin. I'm really looking forward to see Anscombe get back in the side into like a tier 1 nation game, just to see how he copes against a big team like South Africa. Owen Watkin can play 12 or 13. I don't even know where they'll chuck him on. They might well put him on for North. You might well see him actually come on for North, or North move to a wing if he hasn't had a lot of chances in the game. So in terms of versatility in the back row, it's quite nice just to have a couple of those players switch up. Owen Watkin has good coverage. North has some good coverage there. Josh Adams is also capable of moving to fullback if you really need him to. So there's decent coverage in that back row. I'm quite liking what they've got with the setup with the backs. I just maybe would have looked slightly different in terms of the centre partnership. Personally, you know what? Actually, now that I've rethought about it, I would actually prefer to see an Owen Watkin and Nick Tompkins setup in the centre channel. Have a more defensive game from Owen Watkin that you don't really get to see from George North, and then have George North on the bench to come on at either wing or centre later in the game, depending on where you're finding the issues. Probably be the call for me. But there we have it, guys. So in terms of a score prediction, what do we think for this game? What do we think this is going to go to? I'm going to lean, based on these teams, towards a South Africa win. They're certainly going in with the odds favourites. I did check out Sky Bet just before doing this video. Heavy favourites going in South Africa. I don't think this first game will be a blowout. We might well see a blowout further down the line. I think both teams will want to settle in. I think this will be a more standard game. This will probably be a bit more reminiscent of what we saw at the World Cup, is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting both teams to get, 20, 25 points, maybe a lot of penalty kicks, maybe some drop goals, and it'll be an odd try, maybe here or there. I don't think we'll see either team really explode in this first game, but who knows, I might be wrong. So for me, I'm going to call a South Africa win. I'm actually going to call a bit of a comfortable win, but not necessarily blowout. I'm going to say South Africa to win by 9. Let's go in 9. Let's see how we get on. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think of the team? What do you think the score prediction will be? Make sure you do drop it down in the comments. And remember, of course, we have got the Super Brew League. Very short turnaround time, because there is a game on tomorrow between Australia A and someone, which is apparently the first thing on Super Brew. So if you haven't joined up, go and join up now. So you've got a very limited amount of time just to get some of those picks in. But I hope you all enjoyed this video today, guys. Of course, we will be doing these for as many teams as I can do. I'm at least going to try and do like the home UK nations and try and find find some other teams. I'll try and maybe do the France ones afterwards. There's a lot of games going on. It's very hard to pack them all in, especially with the limited time that I have. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys, and if you have, remember to leave this video a like. And if you want to keep up to date with all of the latest videos as they come out, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit that bell notification so you're the first one to find out when the next videos are up on the channel. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.